Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I'm enjoying my first day off from teaching for the summer. You know, typical things like moving my second oldest son to his new house in Eloy from Queen Creek. Both smaller Arizona towns with quite a distance between them. He is currently living in an apartment complex and rented a U-Haul he needs me to drive for him. I go to Switchero, then I pull into his complex. I notice my truck isn't running so well all of a sudden, so I make sure I don't plug in. I make sure my U-Haul, one of the smaller ones by the way, isn't plugging anyone in and is over enough to allow free-flowing traffic. You know, basic courtesy. I've got to tell you that there is literally no great place to park this thing, so I pulled perpendicular to parked cars, only plugging two covered parking spots that were empty. There were a smattering of empty spots elsewhere, even including 5 spots that weren't labeled as anyone else's spots or towaway zones, right next to these spots. I figured I'll tell my 2 sons the news that this will be a rush up, and we're loading things first and preferably only that won't fit in their compact cars. Okay, no problem. Until my son tells me that I am dollying a dresser to the truck, that a lady needs us to move. We're in her spot. I try to explain logic to her. Ma'am, there is 3 open spots right here. We will be done in a… She interrupts. That's my space. Move that truck. I quipped back that there is really nowhere else to move to, and the truck ain't running great anyway. Then she said, just let me in my space. Do whatever you want after, I don't care. Just move that truck. You wanna get froggy with it? Let's get froggy with it. I unfastened the ram as fast yet as over-exaggeratedly as possible, making eye contact while smiling all the way. My butt touched their BMW emblem during this process, as I refused to move back even an inch. I pull down my door, lock it and drive off, sped off, gunned it enough to clunk the engine. I swing a circle around and pull right behind them, exactly where I was. I was fuming at being swore at, and this move is the only non-violent one I could think of. Gas is $5.19 where I am, so I turn the truck off, and they can get lost, both managing to look like people who've made all the wrong choices for all the right reasons, smelling of patchouli and failed guidance counselor, not the good one. So I set up shop again, and I swear as soon as my $5 dolly's wheel touches the metal ramp. Oh, about an hour later or so, Patchouli Counselor 2 comes out of a burning bush to snark at my pacing. Oh look, who cares all of a sudden? I say to him, we'll be out of your hair soon enough. He was clearly livid, responding with, I'm gonna get you a stupid Texas hick country pumpkin truck towed, you stupid hick. I shook my head, partially to convince myself this isn't worth going to jail over, partially in disbelief that he thinks I'm from Texas because a truck says so on the side. Who doesn't know this? I go get the rest of my haul. Not so slowly this time, mainly because this guy may have an emergency and time to engage the final step of malicious compliance, ignition. And the truck won't move. Damn it. But also… yeah, looks like I'm getting this towed anyway. 5 hours later I get U-Haul's roadside assistance to switch out something in a truck, follow me all the way to Eloy, and even unload our stuff for us. Awesome! I would have hated waiting 5 hours for U-Haul to get something done, but in this situation I thoroughly enjoyed watching those that cursed me and my family have to Uber out of there while my sons and I bond over takeout. So let me tell you a tale of 2 punk dumbbells and their crappy parents. To really set the stage though, allow me to talk about these 2 geniuses and their friends. So they were part of a group of around 10 kids aged between 12 and 15 years old. These kids were your typical group of young British yobs who always spent their time together committing varying degrees of criminal mischief and occasionally crossing a line to more serious crime. Now, the reason I paint you this picture is you know that no matter what you read next, you know I'm not a jerk. So I'm a delivery driver for Uber Eats and I drive a motorbike. It's a big old bike for sure despite only being a 500cc bike. So I park up at a popular spot for both the delivery drivers who work there and the yops who terrorize the locals. So I went into the nearby KFC to pick up another order for the night. As I do, two of these yops decided that they like my bike, so much so they wanted to see if they could play a real-life version of GTA and my bike was a vehicle of choice. So I'm in a KFC waiting for the order and they are jumping on the bike thinking it will be easy. One sticks a penknife into my ignition barrel on the bike and starts the engine. One of the other drivers pops his head in and shouts, "Hey OP, someone's trying to steal your bike." I immediately run outside just in time to watch the kid in the driver's seat kick off the side stand. Now here is the thing. When you ride a motorcycle, you need to plant a foot on the ground to support the weight of the bike before pushing off. You need to set the gears and it's possible to do so and not keep a foot on the ground. So he's got himself and a pillion passenger on the back, both with no helmets and on a bike that weighed 4 or 5 times himself. Between himself, the bike, and his friend, it was easily 300 kilograms he needed to hold up, and because he didn't know what he was doing, the second he kicked off the side stand, it toppled over him. His friend was thrown off the bike and cracked his head open, and he had his leg and half his torso crushed under 225 kilograms of biking metal. The second that he dropped, his fellow yops booked it down the street and abandoned him and his friend. I called the cops and an ambulance while canceling my KFC order pickup. I checked on a friend and his head was gushing. The police had gotten good at responding to the yops because of how much trouble they were in. In context, they had responded and moved these kids over 120 times in under 1 month for a whole litany of crimes ranging from trespassing to GBH, serious assaults if you're American. In the past week, they had responded to 10 different vandalism calls and 6 GBH cases, so they see these two geniuses on the ground and me doing my best to use a wad of napkins as a makeshift bandage to hold the blood in. Police ask me what happened and I say they tried stealing my bike and found out it's not the same as the video games. They don't know it yet, but I'm pressing charges and they are facing consequences this time. I wasn't really bothered about being nice as they did try stealing my living and my pride and joy. The cops looked stunned by my disregard for the fact that they were dealing with 2 young people who were seriously injured, and the following conversation ensues. Cop 1 asked, "Are you sure you want to do that? They are injured and they are just kids after all." Me stern, I said, "Yes, their age does not negate the fact that they committed serious crimes." Cop 2 pleaded, "But you might screw up their lives. They don't go to school, they commit crimes on a daily, and all you do is issue ASPOs, antisocial behavior orders. Time for a few real consequences. Do your job and start reading them their rights." The cops didn't like my tone but understood my anger and proceeded to read the kid under the bike his rights as the ambulance pulled up. They obviously tended to the unconscious kid first, and then one broke off to help the police tend to the kid that was under the bike. As they do, their parents who have been alerted to the situation after the police called them showed up, driving pretty recklessly and parking in a bus stop. They run in and look at the yop in pain and his friend unconscious. The father asks, "Why are you arresting them? They are just being stupid kids. We'll pay for the damage, I swear." I state I'm having them charged because they aren't going to learn any other way. You're also paying for the damage regardless of the outcome of this day. The father then says, "I'll only pay for the damages if you drop the charges." Cop 1 goes, "Sir, I'd advise you to pay for the damages. It might help him at sentencing." The mother pipes up and goes, "How much time could he get without us paying?" 4 years, easy, I stated. The mother went bail. She started blubbering, going, "Why can't you let him go? He's just a kid. He's also a criminal and needs to face the consequences of his actions. For once at least." I replied. Now the phrase I hated most was, "They are just kids," did nothing but piss me off. Or I grew up, if you screwed up you owned it and took the steps to make amends. No excuses even if you were just a kid. In my book, the excuse was nothing but a cop-out and the reason that these yobs and their friends felt emboldened to commit non-stop crimes. It was the cheapest form of entitlement and these kids needed to learn a lesson once and for all. In the end, the kid who was unconscious was charged as an accessory to all the crimes of his cohort after waking up from a week-long coma. The other kid was charged with theft of a motor vehicle and vandalism after he got out of the hospital with a broken leg. That was before police started taking complaints and a dozen about them and their friends, all of which were promptly rounded up and charged too. The parents paid for the damages to the bike to help reduce their sentencing and tried arguing that their kid had done enough to appease the law. In total, the kid who tried driving my motorcycle got 2 years in juvenile detention with a 3-year probation. The kid in a coma got 6 months with 18 months probation. The rest of the kids got anything ranging from 100 of hours of community service to 4 years in juvenile detention based upon the amount of crimes they were charged with. Between 10 of them, they racked up a grand total of 127 charges that they pleaded down to 3 charges each. Now, some might think that I was harsh in all this, but 2 years on, and the 2 kids who once tried stealing my bike were going to school finally. They apologized genuinely for their criminality and are doing better. So all in all, they learned their lessons and they were set to try and succeed more despite their past behavior. Moral of the story is when you excuse bad behavior, it allows for entitled behavior. When you punish it, it can stop people from acting worse before they cross serious lines. Okay, so a bit of backstory. My whole family, except for me and my younger brother, were born in Europe. While we were born in the US, our household speaks English and our Slovak at home. So I learned both. However, I learned to write in Slovak first. I started going to school at a charter school and had a great time until in the 3rd grade I met a real jerk. He complained and snitched a ton to get his way, pipped people occasionally, and was overall a jerk. This story takes place in the 5th grade. Every year at the school we had a book fair. It is basically an expensive bookstore fundraiser. This year I managed to snatch up the last book they had in stock of my favorite series. I paid for it and sat down and read for about 15 minutes before the jerk kid and his Karen mom came in. I kept reading, then my friend came in. I then see Karen walk towards me. She stands over me for a while and then says, "Excuse me?" "Yes?" "Give me your book," she says. "No." I say, "Give me your book. My son wants your book, so you have to give it to me. You are too old to be reading this kind of book. You are already 10. I said no, and that I would not give her the book. And then this Karen slaps me clean across the face and tries to kick me hard before my friend football tackles her. The one cop at the school is cold. While the teachers and friends trying to calm down Karen, the kid sneaks up on me and bites my arm. I elbow him in the face and run outside. Now I'm used to physical pain because my little brother and I fight every once in a while. But man, my face stung. After a couple of minutes, I was fine. And the cop was there. They had calmed Karen down, but the second I came back to get my book, she started fighting back and saying that I had assaulted her. The cashier and my friend told everyone the truth, and I was told to go to the nurse, which I did. 2 hours later, my friend and I were called to the principal's office, where he asked us what happened. We answered truthfully, and he then checked the security footage, where the whole thing unfolded. Later, some guy asked my parents if they wanted to press charges, which they answered yes. The kid also got suspended and I got them to pay for my book. Edit. Since a lot of people are asking, it was one of the books in the Last Kids on Earth series. An earlier commenter convinced me that it probably wasn't Ergon. Edit 2. A commenter wanted me to clarify. My younger brother and I were both in the US. The rest of my family were born in Slovakia. So, around 10 years ago, I was still in 6th grade. Our school had this rule that if you were involved in a fight, you at least got 1 day of in-school suspension, including if someone just knocked you out for no reason. To keep the story short, this kid hit me, and I thought to myself, if I'm already going to be suspended, I'm going to make this good. I proceeded to beat the heck out of him. Then when we got to the office, he told me I wasn't allowed to bring in any witnesses to prove he hit me first or contact my parents. Would you guess his witnesses were his best friend? I told the office so, and apparently I need to quit making this worse for myself. Then they made the school safety officer interview me without my parents, and I'm under 18. So after the interview, both our parents showed up, my dad and his mom. The entitled mom started yelling at me and slapped me in the face while my dad was in the principal's office. Apparently, I lied about that, and the officer didn't see it happen. Little did I know the entitled mother was the officer's mistress. So my dad, for whatever reason, didn't believe me even though I still had blood dripping from my nose. The kid had a decent-sized bump from where I hit him on the side of his head. The mom starts screaming how I should have never hit her child. Now we get to the punishment. He got 2 days in school suspension. I got 4 days out of school suspension. Even up to this day, my stepmom claims the only reason I got suspended is because I lied. Well, if I never lied, that can't be true. I did get my revenge, but I will follow up with that only if y'all want. My company decided to install time tracking software on everything a few years ago, but didn't make a big deal out of it. When asked, management said not to worry about it and keep doing your normal workday. Recently, time at work has become a bigger issue. HR is coming down hard on everyone, I know. According to them, we are only working 50% or less of our required hours. This didn't make any sense because the work is still getting done and everyone is still online all day. Because of time being a bigger issue, I started tracking my time very carefully. I was logging over 9.5 hours of work a day, but only getting credit for maybe half that. Cue the malicious compliance. I tested a bunch of different scenarios and learned what is tracked and what is not. Scheduled meetings are always tracked, so now I'm in a meeting every minute of my normal workday. Once I hit the 8-hour mark, no matter what I'm doing, I drop it and quit for the day. This has started to affect how much is being done in total on a weekly basis. But I'm finished working for free.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.